8, 9, 10. Yeah. Oh, shoot. Let's see here. Where's my Facebook page? There we go. I think. Yeah. Yep. I'm on the inside of you, so I'll let you buy it right off the bat. So that way I can file in behind you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All three of us good. Right. Yeah, that'll be. Right. Yeah, we don't want to be doing that. Let's see here. Right. Ooh, I got a foot cramp. Yikes. Right off the bat. Yeah. Hate that. Let's see here. Ooh.
All clear on pit exit.
Yep. But I got a feeling.
Car high, stay low. Keep your line. Car outside, clear on the outside, it's car high. Still there. Outside's clear, car on the outside, car on the high side. He's still there. Still there. Still there. He's still there. And still there. He's still there. Outside's clear. Car outside. Still there. Clear on the outside. Car outside. Clear on the outside. Car on the outside. He's still with you. Still there. Still there.
Yeah, I'm not even going to attempt that. Might have to do first gear.
He's still there.
Oy, no. Alright, I got the fire one.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yes, we are, for the classic IndyCar series. Welcome to Richmond Raceway here in Virginia. And it is time to get going for the first of the 3 Triple Crown events of this year's classic IndyCar series. My name is Samuel Aurora. Welcome along to this race weekend. I'll be joined by Justin Prince and later on in the broadcast by Arjuna Kankipati. And here is the schedule on for you. Richmond this week. We've had a bit of a break after Watkins Glen a few weeks ago, but this happens to be the final round before we head off for a bit of a summer break. And Justin, the calendar looks stacked.
Yes, indeed, the first of our 3 Triple Crown events tonight, which is one of the longest distance races we'll see this evening. And this season, I should say, with Michigan in Indianapolis later on in the campaign. It's going to be an exciting race tonight. 300 laps total around Richmond. Sounds like a lot, but these lap times go by blistering quick. About 4 laps per minute here at this facility. And this track can provide some extreme challenges for our competitors this evening.
Absolutely. Look at the champ so far. Lucas Leville for Vortex racing, but there's only a minor gap there to Ethan Egan. Closed up considering how coming up. Egan was doing quite a good job. Uli Schwabauer comes in second. But remember, Leville has this championship, and coming into this race, winner of the past one as well in Watkins Glen. This is going to be fun. Then of course Marshall Stanley in 4th. And
yeah, the point standings, especially in the middle of the standings, are very close at the moment. So it's going to be intriguing, especially how 4th all the way down to as far back as 9th shape up as these drivers continue on the second half of the summer break. But you want to gain some momentum before that break for a race such as this evening, because this is a track that attrition's going to come into play, and in turn going to bring some major challenges. Keep in mind, we're expecting at least 2 pit stops for our competitors, and it's going to be very important tonight to be able to save fuel, because in clean air it's expected to be 95 laps. In traffic, you can get to approximately 100 laps. In our words, fuel is going to be very critical for this race this evening.
Absolutely, it is going to be of savings. Today's sponsor happens to be Dave.com. It's the Dave.com Indy Challenge here. Meet the banking app that puts your financial. Get paid up to 2 days early, build your credit history, and get up to $200 worth of 7 million members more and counting. Find out more.
Whoops.
So good to see Dave.com right here coming up and supporting this event. And with that, let's get to our track guide. Richmond, properly daunting circuit for many.
Shouldn't do that during the race. Hopefully I got it out of my system.
Watch the white line.
Round 6 of the Classic IndyCar Series will be the shortest track on the calendar with the Dave.com Indy Challenge at Richmond Raceway. Richmond has 60 years of history with stock car racing and is a fan favorite.
Yeah, it's too late now for sure.
Initially a half-mile oval, the track was reconfigured to the D-shaped three-quarter-mile layout.
Missed the opportunity.
Perhaps Richmond's most unique feature is its dedication to esports, both as a venue as well as an organization having their own team, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. While open-wheel Indy cars can't trade paint like their stock car cousins, open-wheel short track has its own challenges. Aero push will be a constant hurdle to overcome, and drivers will need to be confident trying different lanes in order to deal with traffic over a quick 16-second laps. And with this being the first
using the times might be more likely the culprit, or he had something come up with work, but I figured he'd tell us if he did.
For a quick spin around Richmond Raceway. At 16 seconds,
Yeah,
this lap's gonna
that's
be
only
quick. You're gonna
been,
see
that
no
was only
brakes
a
the
different
entire
race
3/4
time from the
of a mile
original,
per
like
hour racing.
once.
In towards turn 1, down to about 1/4 throttle, get the car up against the yellow line, and come off the corner. Down in towards turn 3, see a quick trip down the back straight.
Yeah, it was like
Again,
the first or second
throttle,
race, yeah.
Then off of turn 4, that's gonna be a 16.22 for Jamie. A good trip around Richmond Raceway. With such a short lap, the racing surface will feel as crowded as the grandstands. And with Triple Crown bragging rights on the line, Richmond will surely provide an action-packed race as we head into the summer break.
So here we are, Justin. This is going to be a lot of fun. Lots of laps here at Richmond. It's a short circuit. Laps come flying by you. Mentally, this is going to be a big challenge for the drivers.
Track temperatures decreasing.
Especially coming around turn 2. It's going to be tricky for these competitors tonight to keep up their grip around this racetrack and make sure they don't get loose, especially in the early going on the cold tires. Going to be very critical for today's race. But with that, these drivers have finished up their practices and their practice starts. It's Joshua Chin doing double duty today with the Lionheart IndyCar Series as well. He'll start on the pole today with a 15.784 in qualifying. Blake Lambert starts in second with Andrew Wood and Jan Hoffman in third and fourth. Neil McBride will start in fifth position with Marshall Stanley in sixth, Robert Groscher in seventh position. Cale Weekly starts in eighth position tonight with Josh Baird in ninth spot. Boy, Schurabauer start in 10th position, I should say, with Ethan Aikman in 11th spot. Mike Berlicia in 12th spot with Andrew Aitken in 13th. Jamie Wilson in 14th. Don Day, Jonathan Diggs, and Lucas LaVille round out the drivers who set qualifying times. Todd Novosad start at the back of the grid.
Oh man, Lionheart's right after
also
this.
not setting qualifying times. Rod Carpenter and Art McEwen for today. So 20 drivers ready to go for today's action.
That'd be nice.
And Joshua Chin is going to be one of the interesting factors with double duty. Time is going to be of the essence for him. But today is going to be exciting to say the very least, Samil.
It absolutely is for Joshua Chin. He currently stands in P5 in the standings. Lot to play for. Remember, he was last year's Oval champion. What's going to happen here? Who can give him the biggest fight?
I think right now one of the drivers who can give him the biggest fight.
Actually, I don't have Discord on my stream anymore, so
from the bottom line starting things off. I wouldn't also be surprised to see Lambert
I was
be
just
very
gonna
quick.
say,
Lambert was also very quick in practice.
say whatever you
Those
want.
Were two, in fact, your top three were among your top three positions in practice. So it's going to be interesting to see how they fare out early on in this race, especially when battling. It can be pretty tricky to try and get a pass done here. Keep in mind.
That is true.
The inside line is going to be the place to be right here, but as the grip rubbers up, the outside, some places, sometimes you can see drivers go right there to make those bold moves. That is where things can get so tricky. The wall is always waiting for you, especially when the car gets loose.
Okay, go ahead, Willie.
These drivers, I think, are just about all set to go, Samil, to be able to get underway here from Richmond.
Here we go then. It is time for the first Triple Crown event. Finding the flagman with the green flag up in the air. Green, green, green. Off we go at Richmond.
A very well-timed start from the inside line. Andrew Wood quickly jumped up to second position. You see in the backdrop several drivers getting squirrely coming out of turn 2. That's our danger spot for today. Drivers struggled with that throughout practice, especially when they had dirty air in front. And this is going to be one of those close examples. Cale Weekly was one of those drivers who struggled with that, having to lift off a lot to allow by the 69 to 65 for that battle for position.
Absolutely, that's going to be a major problem. Aero wash throughout the race right here. Dirty air can be such a big problem, right? Because when you're chasing somebody, that's when you end up losing so much time by being in their wake. That can be a significant problem. But so far, Chin has built up quite the gap for himself. And Wood is under pressure from Philip Lambert, right?
Andrew Wood, indeed, trying to hold on to that position. We see as well, though, in that train on behind, Hoffman, the teammate for the Vortex Sim Racing machines, trying to keep wheel to wheel. Right now, they're running 16 2s and 3s, but your race leaders in the Klinger Air have been able to get ones. Joshua Chin just got loose coming off of turn 2 and nearly spun it.
Means that his gap is almost half down, and Andrew Wood is coming right here, and Joshua Chin needs this win badly. He has to build up that gap. He has to get back up in the championship standings. So far, so good, but that error did not help in any way whatsoever. Meanwhile, at the back as well, is that Hoffman sending it down the inside?
Yes, indeed it is. Able to clear on by the teammate. So Lambert giving him some space there in the corner, and you can tell a little bit quicker, but it's going to be interesting how they handle McBride here when he gets himself an opportunity to try and go on forward. And this is one of the main things too. You talked about the aero wash already a little bit, where drivers are going to be trying different lines to find clean air. McBride's doing that by trying to go up to the second and third line.
Very optimistic McBride right now, just carving his way past, and I reckon that's a good strategy to go forward with. When everyone's so close together, that is when you can get the top positions as soon as possible. But later on, there's a very good chance that you could see with things. Will Schauber right now, pressure from the 3-time series champion closer for being up. Get a bit too close here.
Gail Weekly nearly getting back into the gearbox, in fact, of Groscher, in fact, in that battle for position. 4 drivers all tightly packed together, and you can tell just how much these drivers are being impacted by this aero wake right now in the middle of the corners. But Weekly's got it run here to get to the inside. And at this point, as soon as you lose that inside to the momentum, there's not much you can really do to be able to defend here at Richmond.
Got to build up your move. Up, and right now Weekly could be under pressure. At the back there, you could see Bade moving past Grosser in that case, and that is how you execute a move. Build it up for a few laps, go down the inside, send it. I think that right there was quite a smart.
Yes, indeed, and now Jamie Wilson doing the same thing here to the inside as well. And it seems like it's a bit of a game of leapfrog when it comes to this. You lose the bottom at one point, the rest of the field's ready to pass on by
I'm surprised there
and
wasn't
make
one.
moves on you. For example,
Off of
up towards the front, McBride just did the exact same thing. Lambert's now lost the bottom. Stanley had the opportunity to do so, and now there's a spin.
McBride is off. The Team Chimera car finds himself right there in the wall. Is that going to be a caution? It seems like it won't be. McBride is back on the road, but with so much damage, that's going to be an instant stop for him.
Yeah, pretty
My
much.
goodness me, Justin, he was looking so confident in the early going.
Just lost it coming off of turn 2 after getting the clean air, and we talked about this and emphasized it, where drivers, if they carry too much speed, can just absolutely loop it down there. But because he stayed underneath the yellow line on the apron, that is not enough to trigger the caution flag. Just stepped up from underneath them.
Oh, goodness me, you could see so many of these accidents over the course of the race here today. That's the thing with that corner. When you come back up, the car can get so loose, and eventually there is a very good chance that you may find yourself in the wall like that. But has that discouraged them from going hard in the midfield here? Not one bit. Watch them go side by side right now. And this battle in the midfield, Justin, they can't be cared if somebody has gone off. They are going to go push hard all the time.
Yeah, the decline continues for Lambert. He seems to be really struggling right now. Can't tell if it's just because he's continuously lost the bottom line, just can't get into a rhythm as a result, or if he's thinking about big picture-wise, if he wants to try and just settle on into the draft, because we talked about the fuel numbers. If you're just in the midst of clean air, you might have to make an extra stop towards the end of the race. You stay in a line, you put yourself in a situation where you can make it on 2 stops. And we're already reaching lap traffic already for some of your race leaders. In fact, that's how big the difference is for some of these cars and how quick they're going here at Richmond.
Absolutely. Joshua Chin already in that lap traffic. He's carved past one of those cars early on. But this is going to be a persistent problem all the way through, isn't it, Justin? Because Richmond is such a short track. Only 3/4 of a mile. The cars are going to come at you all the time. It's just about how patient you can be at times and how many different lines are you confident enough to run.
Especially since, as well, the pace that Chin is putting on is blistering quick compared to even Andrew Wood. Wood's been running in clean air about 16.4s or so. Joshua Chin in clean air has been running lap times that are at the moment in the 16.3. So he's pulling away by about a tenth a lap even from Wood at the moment. It's just been incredible to see this pace that Joshua Chin's been able to put on. He's trying to power his way past some of these cars. And some of the other machines, in the midst of some of the traffic, they've only been able to run in the 5s or 6s when they've been in these little packs such as this one.
Exactly, you need that confidence, and as you can see right now, some drivers lining up the inside line quite there. Josh Baird falling down and Jamie Woodson picking up a position. But one thing that's happened right from the very start, Justin, is that Robert Grosser has fallen down so many positions. He was up there in the higher part of the midfield. Watch him go down again. He's gone back to P number 14. That can't be strategy, can't it? It just has to be him not just feeling very confident with the car early on.
Yeah, it's just looking like at the moment just doesn't feel like he's got it gripped together. That time he knew he clipped the apron, in fact. Trying to run the bottom. He's only reaching 163 miles an hour down the straightaways as well, so he has really slowed on down his pace down these straights, as much as 0.3 off some of the other competitors in the field.
Goodness, that is alarming. That is alarming for somebody so high up in the rankings all the time. It's just not working out well. Grosser, by the way, 6th in the championship, but this does not help. What helps him, though, is the fact that Leville, the major championship challenger right now, only in P number 11. Let's see which way the race is going to go. But Willie Schwabauer right now, the driver who is behind the Vortex car at this moment in time, he was outstanding the last time out at Watkins Glen. He was involved in some very hectic battles all the way through. He finds himself in P number 9 right here, Justin. And I think what he's doing right now is doing a pretty smart thing by maintaining a decent enough gap, where he's pretty much in the reach of Marshall Stanley, but not close enough to be impacted by the aero wash that badly.
Yeah, he's been doing a great job in terms of his consistency in his line so far, as they now reach some more of that lap traffic. In fact, that 17th place, Art McEwen, they're trying to pass on by. To get back to your point, keep in mind, this is a rookie that's been able to just be able to do this performance in this series. It's been incredible to see his progression.
Yep, I did. But
and now it looks like he's taking advantage of some of this traffic by forcing his competitors into
no
the arrow wake of the lap traffic ahead of Jonathan Diggs.
Damage. Though,
interesting.
So.
Schwabauer to the inside line,
Caution.
and there we go. First caution of the day on lap number 34. It is Baird who's had that incident. What has gone wrong here? Is it another C2 slide?
I think so. Just lost it coming off of turn 2, and it was enough to trigger a slide in the middle of the racing line to bring out the caution flag here. I think he avoided significant damage compared to the previous incident. In fact, I don't even think he tapped the wall. But it's so easy to just loop it on around, again off of turn 2 with the arrow wake. Right there. Just snapped around as he was a little bit lower on the corner exit. Slides it sideways before he gets the apron, and that's enough to trigger the caution flag with the traffic around.
Yeah, that's another one for Josh Baird. This is seemingly not going well for him so far, and this makes it all the more crazy, Justin, because the pit window, well, it's supposed to go for at least 90-95 odd laps, but there already are some cars on pit road.
I think this is just to make sure they can comfortably make it essentially on the couple stops without having to save now. So taking that opportunity to be able to properly pit here, not have to worry about fuel saving, just go full out, go those laps that we expect, about 95 or so in the clean air or so, compared to before when some of them had to potentially save a lot. Looks like one driver's having massive troubles in the pit lane, though. Lambert struggled to get in his box, lost at least 5 seconds trying to roll back and forth.
My word. Now, that's the thing with the pit lane right here. The entry is still somewhat okay, but the pit boxes are also close to each other. You can't quite cut through the pit boxes, right? So you've got to find your way in. And they can be a bit tricky to do so here at Richmond when everything is all so close together. And that has lost him a ton of time. I wonder how many places he's lost eventually when we go back to green again. But there we are. Only took us 35 laps, Justin, for our very first caution.
Which I'm kind of surprised because I was well ahead of those guys.
That was fairly quick
indeed. I was just a couple seconds behind
we were expecting these lap times to go by blistering quick, and that's
exactly
what we've seen already. These drivers made about a third of the way through the run before that yellow flag wave. But it's going to be interesting. The green flag flies once more, how some of this traffic comes into play, because you've got several drivers who elected not to come down, like Josh Baird, who, despite the caution flag, is now staying out on the worn tires. You also have Rod Carpenter, who elected not to pit. That's going to be a buffer for your top two compared to the rest of the pack when we go back racing here.
Exactly. This will create some sort of discrepancies in the field, with some drivers choosing to pit and the others deciding not to. Let's take a look at who hasn't. Joshua Chin hasn't, Andrew Wood hasn't, Willie Schwabauer hasn't, neither has Wilson or Novsad. Thereon, after that, there are quite a few drivers who have done. Jan Hoffman, the first of them, Marshall Stanley coming in behind them, Caleb Weekly, the championship leader Lucas Leville as well, along with his main rival Ethan Egan and Robert Grosser.
JRT says 70 laps left.
And as you mentioned, Justin, only Josh Baird and Rod Carpenter are the two cars below that top 5 who have chosen not to. This will be fun. Let's see how much time they end up losing. And on the first 35 laps, we had some consistent green flag running, not too much lap traffic, so I can imagine their tires being not so badly hampered, but there's got to be that big pace difference there.
Yeah, looking at the numbers, the fall off was starting to pick up a little bit for Joshua Chin by about 4/10 compared to the start of the run. So the tire fall off was starting to kick off and in for these competitors. It's going to be interesting if that ends up continuing once the green flag flies. Now the tires have cooled off a little bit with these pace laps, though. That's the main thing. So I think those drivers staying out definitely playing the track position game compared to wanting to risk going back into the pack and risk dirty air and air wash and spinning off the corners. We're ready to go back racing.
Indeed, let's do this. Let's hope that cautions do not breed more cautions in a case like this one. Green, green, green. Off we go once again for the second time here at Richmond. And Joshua Chin leads comfortably. Moves being made already for that matter. I think that was Jan Hoffman getting a position up already so far. So the fresher rubber playing a huge role in the restarts. Again, you need that confidence, don't you? When the car and when the race goes back on green, you need that fresher rubber to give you that advantage. And Hoffman seemingly making the best of it.
It also helped that the lap traffic immediately moved out of the way there as the second we started off back for the green flag. So that's going to be a major impact. But the trouble's going to be, I think, right around where some of these battles are going to start playing out. Third position. This is going to hold up this pack a little bit more. Todd Novosad looking to take advantage here.
Novosad sends one down the inside of Willie Schwabauer. That is opportunistic. Willie has to go on the outside line. He's got no other choice. But down the inside, that's where the grip is. That is where the confidence is. The pack racing is getting a bit too frantic. Jamie Wilson, by the way, has taken the best advantage of this. But things are getting rather dicey here, aren't they, Justin?
Absolutely dicey and very tight right now. It looks like that Bauer is not wanting to give up this position whatsoever. Unfortunately, though, making a bit of contact there, trying to find the hole to the bottom. That was Hoffman diving it in.
And Hoffman with that fresher rubber going on Willie Schwabauer, remember, who does not have that fresh tyre. And you could see how much confidence Schwabauer lacked in comparison. He was forced off to the outside line. And that could have been far, far worse. Time for a Race Spot TV replay.
Nope,
The Schwabauer on the outside line here in the 65 machine. All cool until it wasn't in a matter of moments. Oh my goodness.
Just avoided damage. That was wheel-to-wheel contact, it looked like there. As Hoffman did not get any endpoint damage, but there was a bit of damage. I noticed a crinkle to the left side pod of the Rookie of the Year contender, so that's going to bring him to the pit lane.
And Willie Schwabauer boxes in under green flag. That is the critical problem here for him right now. He will be banking on a caution and a half to get back into this race. this does not help one of the major challengers for the championship. Schwabauer is third. He needs a big one in this race, and this has started to go all the way backwards for him so far.
Yeah, this traction is so hard, there's not much
in the pit
room.
lane as well with how hard that contact was. But as this is all going on, Joshua Chin continuing to blister his way away from the rest of the pack. You have to wonder how the strategy call is going to be once we get towards 100 laps into this race and how things play out for him, because right now he is still setting times in the 16.4s, but the drivers on the fresher tires are coming by about a tenth a lap.
Indeed, they are.
I have to stay out.
Oh, trouble down the backstretch. One car hitting the wall, Jonathan Diggs.
The second caution is out again, only some 15 odd laps after we had the first one. Let's take a quick Race Spot TV replay to see what has happened. And I have a bad feeling that it's the same thing all over again, Justin.
Absolutely is. Just looping it off turn 2, snap of oversteer, right into the inside wall, and the hardest hit out of the 3 that have gone that way so far. That is a race ender possibly for Diggs, with both the front and rear wing completely getting sheared off.
And that, well, no fast repairs
I know.
in this race. So
I'm
he's
very
gonna be
surprised,
out
to
there
be honest
for
with
a
you.
long,
I really
long
thought that I
time.
would have to.
And
I
there
really
we
thought
are.
they'd stay
The
out for
right
the
call has
full
been made. You can see the likes
fuel
of
cycle,
Joshua
but-
Chin and his Team Chimera teammate Andrew Wood follow him inside. And Jamie Wilson does that too. And somehow, this seemingly has backfired a slight bit, Justin, or has it not? Because eventually they will come out with fresher upper. And if we go green for a longer time, these guys will supposedly have the advantage.
My car's feeling
Only by
fine,
a couple laps,
so
though. That's my main concern
doubt we're
right
gonna
now.
get a
And I
green
don't
flag
think
run
this is
to
a
the
caution
next
they may have wanted to see.
stop,
They may have wanted this to be a longer run towards green
I'm
flag stops. Now
definitely
this
not
costs them
worried
the
that
track position.
we're
Now
gonna
puts
go
them
green.
behind the 8
This is
ball,
gonna be a
round
caution
6th,
fest.
7th on back after their service here. So that's my main concern if I'm some of these drivers here is we have to be able to cut our way through this whole pack again. It gives Hoffman now the race lead. So it's going to be a massive concern, I think, if you're Chin to try in a major test as well to see can he get through the traffic with the aero wash now.
Exactly. That's the thing. And would Joshua Chin have set up his car to be a part of that major midfield? Of course, you get lap traffic everywhere, right? You have to get used to the fact that there is going to be no peace and calm here at Richmond. There is going to be no quiet moment. But for Joshua Chin, mid-pack racing, that's something that he's very used to. Remember, last year's Oval champion in the Classic IndyCar Series. He knows exactly what he's doing on the Oval, but right now,
you don't want to
at
be
least for this situation,
you don't want to be
the
a person
odds
that's out there
seemingly
causing
stacked
wrecks
up
because you're
against
too
him.
slow. But
look at
I
the
think,
decision. Look at the wise move that someone like Hoffman or Weekly made, Justin. They all of a sudden have catapulted up, and their tires are not too old by many laps here, so they could pretty much not have a very bad run at the start, and they could keep their positions. And all of a sudden, that looks like
if you
a
can
very
finish the race
inspired
without
decision by
damaging
all
your
of them.
car, you're pretty set.
Yeah, like I said, it puts them in a spot where they don't have to worry about saving really at all now at this point. It's a simple 2-stopper on the fuel, give or take. It's just a matter, though, of how these runs play out. And this is just the strategy gamble that comes into play in open wheel racing like this, where you never know when the caution flags are going to fly, you never know when you're going to get attrition coming into play, and you try and put yourself into a situation where it cycles yourself into the better spot. And if we get a long run, congratulations. You win the strategy game for the time being. But still, you need to prove that you have that pace. Some of these drivers that stayed out here this caution flag period and had pit the previous caution flag were struggling as the run progressed. So it's going to be a test as well. Can they learn from the mistakes they made the last run as we get the one to go?
Absolutely, that is a very, very good point that he made right there. And that's the thing with oval racing, right? The cautions change things up so badly. You've got to be thinking on your feet. You can't come into a race with a strategy in mind. You can't just think that, okay, this is the way it's going to be. You've got to be adapting as things happen. Josh Baird, meanwhile, who had that major accident early on that brought out the first caution, he has got his lap back, so he can be back in the running. And the best part for him is that the damage is gone as well. He will be in a low position, that's for sure. He will be in P number 14, but chances just look a slight bit brighter. Here we go once again though. Green, green, green. Off we are for the third time here at Richmond. And a good start by all the runners. Everyone on virtually similar sort of rubber. Some drivers pitting in later, like Chin, like Wood, like Wilson. Watch out for them at this restart.
Keep in mind, those have to start behind a couple drivers who did stay out, who are laps down on the racetrack. So that's going to make things a little bit tougher for Chin and company. But up and towards the front, you see how smooth things are looking. Caleb Weekly, the highest he's been all race today. He was one of the drivers who was struggling in the iconic motorsports machine coming off of turn 2. Looking like he's learned from his mistakes and has found that limit so far in this race.
And it's all about that limit here, isn't it, at Richmond, when you're all so close to the walls, like every single oval. It's like a balancing beam, this one. Get one wheel under the yellow line, poof, that is it. That is a major spin. But getting loose later on, that is a bit crazy. What's happened to Joshua Chin here, apparently? He's lost a little bit of time, Justin.
Yes, indeed. He was running behind the traffic of the 65 machine and nearly looped it off of turn 2. A massive wiggle just a couple laps ago where he was shuffling for a good 2 to 3 seconds. That cost him some time, but now he's been able to get himself right to the back end of the drivers who stayed out under the caution flag period. And he's really on the very edge of the limit here and struggling, it seems, with this aero wash right here. A little bit of a bobble off the corner, but had to stick it to be able to make this pass.
Gets it in. Joshua Chin moves up to P number 6. That is it, right? That's the limit you were talking about, Justin. Almost touching it, and thankfully for him, keeping it safe eventually. Maybe just the time to move the weight jacket a little bit on the positive side, because right now the car feels loose, but loose is fast for Joshua Chin.
And he's shown that throughout this entire race so far. He's taking the corner exits a little bit lower as well when he's in traffic, and he almost lost it again. That time, he took that lane a little bit higher, and it was enough to just snap him around.
That's the problem. That's the problem with having a loose car. Joshua Chin nearly losing it at the exit right there. His teammate, meanwhile, Andrew Wood, moving on and making a move on Cruiser, who hits the wall. Big incident right here.
It was somebody.
That was Lambert who hit the wall, and that's going to bring us under caution again.
My apologies, but Lambert is up here. He has taken the tow back to pit lane. What in the world has happened there? Philip Lambert in the pressure of the battle and the exit. The car got too tight. Nowhere for him to go apart from the pit lane now.
Way too high up the racetrack coming off of turn 2 and just stuck it up into the wall to make sure he didn't come back down into traffic. Ends up breaking his car and having to put it on the tow. That's what's enough to trigger the caution flag and may join the now 3 drivers who pulled it off into the pit lane.
Yeah, you've got to wonder how much more Lambert can take. This was a big accident right there. You take a look at the Race Spot TV replay. This is Joshua Chin's perspective. You can see how loose that car gets. This is getting a bit frightening to watch, Justin. This is where he lost those 3 positions, but immediately after that is where Lambert's race went wrong. And you can see it. Chin wants to make some adjustments. He's on onto pit road.
Yeah, Brain, Atkin, Baird, and Alicia with him for the pit stop service here, it looks like. Didn't like what he was feeling, I don't think, with the tires, and maybe felt like heating up those rear tires a little bit too much, deciding, you know what, I'm going to put in some extra fuel, try and see what I can get, and now take some service, put himself a little bit deeper in the traffic, yes, but try and see what he can adjust in terms of his racing line, especially now in the traffic compared to clean air, where he was able to pull away and didn't have that issue.
Unstable, maybe.
And in terms of in-car tools as well, I think this is going to be the time for Joshua Chin to make some major differences, right? Remember, this Dallara IR05 also having things like the weight jacker in there. Of course, a classic oval racing staple, this one. But what
I don't know how I spun that one. It kind of caught me off guard, I guess, because usually I can see them coming, but the problem is I feel like this car is tight.
At this point, if the option's available, potentially for the tire pressures, try and
traffic.
tweak something with that. Maybe with the weighing angles as well in the pit lane. Something along
Yeah,
those
right.
lines to
Yeah,
try
I'm the
and
same way.
change
I
things
prefer a
up.
car that
But the main
pushes me
thing
into the
is
wall
also,
versus spinning
I think,
out,
just
because you can't,
get himself
especially
off
with this
cycle.
car,
Try
you're not
something
going to catch
different.
it once it
See what
starts
he can
going.
make work. Because keep in mind, we talked about this earlier, he's going to be one of the drivers doing double duty. He can't afford this race to have a plentiful caution flags. He needs to be able to compete later on today for 500 miles as well.
And that's going to be a major point.
I think
How
we're
much
still
of
on.
it is weighing on his mind right now? Remember the Lionheart Indy 500 also coming up later today. Justin, you're going to be commentating on
For
that
time.
one. And Chin's going to be right there. And Chin, of
Oh,
course,
so we're
has
going to
developed
end on
quite a
time?
reputation for being an old racing expert. Could his mind not fully be right here in
Oh,
this
okay.
case? Because double duty is no joke at all.
It's no joke whatsoever to race for 5+ hours straight. It can be very mentally fatiguing. It can be physically fatiguing. It can bring some major challenges as a result.
Does
So it's going to be
JRT
important
switch
for
from
Chin
time
stay
to
hydrated,
laps
to
if
stay
it
mentally
does
focused.
that?
But as well, the tough thing's going
Because
to
right
be
now it still says
trying to keep that focus for
229
this
laps
race,
remaining.
knowing what's
Or 230,
immediately
I guess.
after, and knowing that time is of the essence for you as a driver. So all that's going to be weighing upon him as this race goes on, as the lights are on top of the iRacing pace car.
Right.
One to go. This is it. And I wonder, what is it going to be like for Joshua Chin? And talk about a more tricky track to come to than Richmond, right? The cars are always coming at you. There is no moment of peace and quiet, apart from the cautions, but that's not what's helping him in this case right now, and all the other drivers as well. It's a constant barrage here at Richmond. It's go, 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 all this while lap traffic is always at you, and you're constantly in that one constant corner here. It is going to be tricky. But here we go again. The caution is over. Time for some more green flag running here from Richmond. And that is a lovely start from Caleb Weekly. He's the one who's almost moved up into the lead here.
Weekly immediately got the run. Looked like he timed up the launch better than Hoffman did. Went a little bit before what Hoffman did. And now is trying to get himself fully clear in the bottom of that racetrack. Going to be pretty tricky, though, to get the job done, especially with how close he is to that apron.
But he does. He's got the nose up ahead and the momentum is on his side. Hoffman has been forced to the outside line, and this means that Stanley can come in and make a move too. This is getting rather fun right here. And watch the Team Chimera cars tag team their way up. Wilson moving up, Wood moving up a position as well. They're on fresher rubber and the confidence is evident.
Very confident when it comes to their cars, it seems. Wood, keep in mind, was keeping the same pace on short run before compared to before. Look at this for the race lead, though. Hoffman able to build up in our run.
That is smart from Hoffman right there. He lost the edge at the start, but he's getting a bit too close. Weekly making contact at the very end. That was almost bump drafting at Richmond. Sounds like a crazy idea, but that nearly happened right there. And all of a sudden, lap traffic has made its way into this race as well. So things are about to get rather complicated as Novosad drops a position and Chin gains one in the midfield.
That's a battle for 8th as we follow on with the battle for 4th position. You can see just again, right here, how much confidence he's got to be able to stick it right on the corner exit in particular, to build up the run, to be able to get the pace together. It's going to be interesting how this all plays out for these drivers. Wilson able to complete the pass despite a bobble.
Indeed, he does pass as the championship leader, Lucas Leville. Moves up into P number 5. It's all in that good phase here. It's all good to see. Some very amazing green flag running. The gaps are building up, but they are not too big. And this is an interesting graphic right here. The pit stops. The last pit stop lap. Hoffman, Weekly, Stanley and the likes, they have boxed in at that very first caution, Justin. For them right now, it's only been 50 odd laps. In some 40 odd laps time, which can fly past, they will have to go on the pit stop on the green flag running if we don't get a caution. They're banking on one in some 5-7 odd minutes time, big time, because otherwise all the other cars behind them can trump them easily and they'll end up losing too much time.
Yeah, right now I think at this point with the caution flags, the gamble is simple. Hope that you get a caution by about lap 100, get everyone onto an equalized strategy, essentially because it becomes a one-stopper from that point on. So that's the thought process I think that might be coming to play now for some of these drivers who are on the older tires compared to the newer tires. Hope they can keep the track position by then and hope they are not the caution.
Riding on board with Marshall Stanley right now in P number 3. Stanley, of course, eventually ending up winning his split of the fixed Indy 500 as well early on this year, carrying a bit of confidence. Is that his engine smoking up, Justin?
Can't really see right there in terms of that, but keep in mind, one car darting off into the grass while another was darting off behind them. That was Caleb Weekly.
And Caleb Weekly finds himself under the tri-oval. What has happened here for the iconic motorsports car? He was up there in one of the best positions. Remember, challenging for the lead only a couple of laps ago. Loses it on the exit of turn number 4, Justin. That is what has had to happen right here. And that is such a tricky corner. When you're coming back on, the car wants to slide, it wants to turn on you. And for Weekly, he just could not control it.
Yeah, that's also a spot where drivers struggled on the older tires on corner exit to try and avoid the wall. And that time, just a little bit too much speed coming off the corner exit, trying to hold on to the position with some of the drivers coming on behind and quickly. But the driver you've seen in the backdrop, by the way, in that circle was Wood, who's already made his way up to 3rd. He's within 6/10 of the lead. Joshua Chin is already up to 4th as a result of that incident.
He absolutely is, and Joshua Chin boxing in earlier than Andrew Wood. He might have the momentum right here, you know. Chin boxing on lap 66, Wood on lap 52. Yeah, I know it's a very small lap over there, but still makes a little bit of difference. And so far, Justin, that lap traffic might not be as big of a headache because so many cars have taken themselves out already. So that takes off a little bit off their minds.
Yeah, but the main thought process is once the pace kicks up for some of the top competitors, what will happen when they get to the grouping of, say, 12 on back, or where 11th is, or where 9th and 10th are battling later on if that pace continues to pick up for some of these competitors. That's where it gets worrying for cars, is when you have the layers upon layers of the top competitors all coupled together, to where you have battles such as this that can break out, and that can in turn make things extremely difficult for some of the drivers to get on through.
And remember, oval racing, I mean, it's a given, right? It feels like there's no point in saying it, but still, the cars are not obliged to move out of their way. They will fight, they will hold on. It's on the faster car here to carve their way out. And that can be tough if you're someone like Jan Hoffman, who's not boxed for the last 60-odd laps. The rubber might be screaming at this stage. But on the pace-wise, they seemingly are fine. But in a few laps, it will not be. The rubber will not be in peak condition. And running those multiple lines, being a bit more dynamic while passing the lap cars, well, that's going to become an even bigger problem here.
Absolutely. We've seen it already be a bit of a factor for drivers if they don't get a big enough run on some of them, where they're going to lose time as a result. Someone goes to the inside, maybe takes advantage of the run, uses the lap car as a pick. That's a thought process that can definitely come into play later on in this race as well, as we're already approaching a third of the way through, approaching the spot where drivers can make it on one stop from that point on, from about lap 105 onward.
Got to love it, got to love how quick the race
I'm
is right here
too
at
wide
Richmond.
racing with
Just
Robert.
darting out all the way through, and this track has such a history of racing as well. And even in the world of esports, if I'm not mistaken, the Richmond Racing Circuit has
really
their own
tough.
eNASCAR team as well.
Yes, Richmond Raceway Esports with Jimmy Mullis and Zach Novak. And that team has been around for many years. And even before the rest of the organizations made their way to the NASCAR Local iRacing Series, drivers talk about how Richmond Raceway was involved a lot when it comes to the series and the driver development. It's also very major here at this track, where they really put an emphasis on esports and especially for eNASCAR on that side of the platform of iRacing.
Amazing to see racing circuits like this one coming up and supporting the world of esports. Of course, iRacing coming in and just taking it by storm, isn't it? Bringing in all these tracks, scanning everything. They've got to love the kind of competition we get to see there in the eNASCAR series and also in the classic IndyCar championship. We go to a variety of places and we also have a second championship going side by side. The Masterclass,
Swan
drivers
needs to quit
45 and
moving.
above. Aitken so far is doing a decent job in P number
Right.
11. And his main competitor in that championship is McEwen, who finds himself in P15. For Aitken right now, all is well in
Which
that
is
45
crazy
championship
because
as well.
I really, Marshall Stanley was flying
Well,
in
indeed,
practice.
especially with max points the past 2 rounds.
I really expected
Number
them to be
27
dominating
machine.
today.
So looking very smooth when it comes to that championship on the road side. Like 47 points compared to the 28 in the oval championship coming in. But has looked very strong overall when it comes to the master class of 45 years old and above indeed. It's going to be interesting how McEwen tries to recover, though, in regards to the points gap in this race, because still a lap down in this one, in fact, a couple laps down compared to the 27 who's still in the lead lap.
Exactly, things are not going well for McEwen right now, and Andrew Aitken for the Aero X team just relaxing and doing a good job in that masterclass category right there.
No
and
kidding.
the best part is the diversity in his wins. One of them coming in at the Twin Ring Motegi, the second one at Watkins Glen. It just sort of showcases what the IndyCar series is all about, right? You've got to prove yourself in different kinds of circuit. Motegi is slightly longer oval, you get some confidence off that, fine, go out there, prove yourself. At a road course, you won that, well and good. Come back here and prove yourself at a short track oval like this one. I love it. I love how every single race weekend, the drivers are pushed for more here.
Absolutely. It really tests the ability of drivers on a magnitude and multitude of different racing disciplines. And even when you think about the ovals, Kansas and Motegi are two different
25 downs for me.
different driving styles, I should say, compared to what you see from Richmond, what you see at Michigan, what you see for potentially the Indianapolis 500 as well. Because for those types of races, for the mile and
That's
a
what
half,
JRT's telling me.
they're basically battling, hoping for the
25.2.
draft, battling back and forth, going for the swap draft, etc., etc. For the bigger tracks like Michigan and the Indianapolis 500, yes, swap draft still a major factor, but you're also at Michigan dealing with potentially 3-4 wide action. At Richmond, though, especially when it comes to the traffic here, it's a lot of rhythm racing, where you're trying to keep yourself into a smooth rhythm and marks and speed without losing too much time, without getting held up by drivers, as well as to make sure you can maximize the amount of life on your tires and the fuel itself. So it takes all sorts of different mindsets throughout a season to make sure, okay, this is what we need to do to win a championship.
Which is what makes the achievements of some drivers even more impressive, right? When you come to think of it. Last year, Egan was the Rookie of the Year, coming in this year and fighting for the championship. But it's not working out for him right here. His only win of the season so far came at Phillip Island. So far in the Oval, here he is only in P number 9. Let's all watch and see which way things are going to go for him right now. Still, fun in the mid-pack. We're actually 1/3 of the way, and it's flying past this race, Justin. And you've got to love it as a driver, haven't you? Where you can just go out there and execute your strategies to perfection. This sort of rhythm racing that you mentioned, it's almost therapeutic to watch and almost therapeutic to do as a driver.
To be honest with you, this is going so crazy. 12.4. I was gonna say I don't even know if I can look away from the track right now. It's just
earlier before.
so much
As well, you
chaos
have other
going on.
drivers in the midst as well, trying to battle to keep themselves in the lead lap. So you have all these competitors
Yeah, right. You're
who
fine.
are trying to be thinking about big
Yeah, I have
picture, trying to be
12.2 left
feisty
now.
with the racing lines, but also trying not to hold themselves up too much. Good recovery from Weekly.
Good recovery indeed, yeah, just keeping hold of his car at that particular stage. And meanwhile, while we see Joshua Chin having to defend
spin.
from Jamie Wilson right here,
Donde.
things are getting interesting because in only a few laps
Nice.
time, we will be
No
coming
kidding.
at that stage where the likes of that's Hoffman, Wood, not Wood, I'm sorry, where you see the likes of Jan Hoffman, Marshall Stanley, Lucas
11.8.
Laville, where they all have to come in the pit lane. And guess what for them? It's the perfect timing to see our next caution of the day. Yellow flag is out here.
And it's Don Day, who we were seeing before, battling just moments ago with some of those cars. And this time, it's a driver ending up losing it off of turn 2 again into the inside wall and ricocheting back up to the racing line. And this is the caution that some of the drivers were hoping for who stayed out before. Hoffman, especially, this is going to really help. Stanley as well, this is going to help.
Just as I was saying that it's going to be time for them to come in a few laps under green flag, they've just been blessed. It's the perfect timing for them. All is well. Most of the cars coming in, but somebody is staying out there. We shall get back to you on who that is. But seemingly almost a unanimous decision. Everyone wants fresher rubber. And if you're Jan Hoffman right now, you must be smiling from ear to ear saying, well, I got lucked out right here. This is perfect.
Absolutely puts them on equal footing on the tires. But already Chin is trying to pick up some time in the fast lane, it looks like, on his entry. They were near side by side as Hoffman was going into the slow lane. That's something that was emphasized by race control for today's sequence. That may help out Chin.
Well, and it's been a long green flag run, so...
And he wins what the IndyCar Real Series would call as the race off
we
pit
probably all
road.
needed to come in.
Man,
This next one might be a long one, too.
This really paid off here. You've got to love the intensity, from Joshua Chin right here. Fighting it all the way through. You've got to know this is why he has such a reputation of being an ace on ovals. And all of a sudden, Jan Hoffman, who had the biggest smile on his face, might be slightly tensed up. And it's not just that entry on the pit lane that got Chin up on top as well. Chin slightly having a smaller stop at 7.9 seconds. Maybe underfueling a little bit, Justin?
Possibly, maybe as well, to try and equalize the amount of time for the fuel in the tires. And that comes with experience, right? To know how much fuel you can put in confidently. As well with the amount of time to offset to make sure you're not getting held up by the fuel once you're done the tires, etc. So it's something to definitely think about, and I think he definitely knows this too, with the potential factor of, well, it's one stop from here. So you don't essentially have to panic, so to speak, if that's indeed what he ended up doing in terms of fuel. You basically just have to magically, get to the magic number of lap 200, 205 to be good to go the rest of the way.
I should have go ahead.
Exactly that. You've got to end up this stint and one more stop right for the very end. This is going to be fun. The big part of the race is where you see the strategy battles eventually play
on a default page.
Who's going to get the edge in that situation?
I'm running the default page.
And here we are back again.
So I have laps remaining, estimated laps.
Is on a level playing field. But how many drivers are
I have something in the lower left that says .204.
Philip
That might be
Lambert
it.
has retired after his major crash. Willie Schwabauer,
And then there's 5 liters in parentheses.
Any rhythm at all. This is going to be a big dent to his championship, or maybe not, because this could end up being his drop week round eventually. So Schwabauer is also retired in this one. Jonathan Diggs has also taken the leave, and the same can be said for Niall McBride, who initially was the one who spun around at turn number 2 at the very opening section of this race.
Okay.
And I get a bad feeling that Don Day might also end up pressing the retire button because he has had a major whack. But considering that so many drivers have retired today, Justin, it might just be a good incentive for him to stay on, maybe. Just get a half-decent result, whatever he can salvage. That might be some good points in the championship in the long run.
More so for Carpenter and McEwen, where they're 4 laps down apiece. There's a chance for trouble. They can obviously pick up more if they have more. As here we go.
Once again, we go green here at Richmond. We've had 4 cautions so far. Hopefully we don't end up seeing more because a compelling battle could be on the way. And Joshua Chin, he has just grabbed the race lead by the jugular and is going ahead with it. A lovely restart. Everyone on fresh rubber, mind you. But Chin timing it to perfection. He is your leader so far.
Not a surprise to see Chin quickly pull off and away. He's been having this blistering pace right from the get-go. Wood, though, remember, has also been good when it comes to his pace. The trouble's going to be trying to find a way to get by Hoffman. He's already trying to find some clean air pockets and battle on Ford, while some of the others, they're electing to just take the dirty air, as it looks like one driver pulling off to the side towards the pit lane.
And is that Aitken? That is Aitken. Almost locks up getting into the pit lane, and that's Andrew Aitken leading the Masterclass Championship, pitting on the green flag, so something definitely not going right for him. Is he under fuel or something? No? I wonder.
We'll have to see. We'll have to check to see what happened with him. The 27, it's possible penalty maybe. We'll have to wait and see for him.
Meanwhile, though, all is well at the top. The gaps are slowly getting cut down here. Andrew Wood closing up to Jan Hoffman. Both of them, of course, having stopped at that same pit window. And I love to see this battle, right? Wood so far in the season has been okay. And same can be said for Hoffman as well. But that's the thing with these specific oval races. Sometimes it just suits you as a driver, suits your style, suits your ability. And both of these drivers so far this season have not
coming out of pits,
are just pushing it here and doing an excellent job at the top of the field.
Oh, in trouble for the 27 machine. The reason he came down initially, he hit the wall with the right side tires coming down off of turn 2. He just ended up having his race end because he crashed coming off the pit lane after 21 seconds of service. That didn't bring up the caution and brings us to 14 cars remaining on the racetrack.
Whoa, that scared the crap out of me.
Yikes. Andrew Aitken.
No, not you. Lucas blinked out for a split second.
This could have been huge for him. The gap in the 45 plus championship, the Masterclass
and it showed him wrecking while he was blinking.
Could be increased by a ton. And he would have got some handy points in there as well. But now he finds himself 7 laps down on the leader. Here's a Race Sport TV replay of exactly what happened here.
And watch it right there. Wow. Just ended up lighting up the tires as soon as he got to the blue cone. To signify you can go back up to speed. As soon as he got up to it, gas hard into the wall. And just wrong place, wrong time for him to just snap loose there.
Yeah, I'm trying.
That, folks, is the power of cold tires. They just do not want to respond. And these Indy cars, they've got so much horsepower on them. If I'm not mistaken, these specific IRO ones having excess of 650 horsepower in these cars. When you floor them, that is it. If the rubber is cold, the car will turn around. And that right there was an IRO 5 saying, no, I'm sorry, I am not ready. What a bad way to end the race for him.
Absolutely, and Hoffman actually, it should be worth noting in this battle for position, scrubbed his right side tires 2 against the outside wall off of turn 4. So drivers are starting to make some major mistakes here in the midst of some of these battles for positions, with some of the aero wash now coming into play, as well as traffic also coming and saying hello.
How do you tie save in a situation like this one, Justin, where, yes, it's a different matter that there's only 14 cars on the track, so your pressure and your load is somewhat taken off you. But still, when you're constantly following someone, when you're constantly in that dirty air, we don't have a straight long enough that you can gain from the draft. Instead, in this case, you're just punishing your rubber. You're just pushing it hard all the time.
Well, obviously, for one, clean air really helps when it comes to saving the tires, because when you're in dirty air, it ends up adding more weight to the car, essentially more pressure to the air, and in turn puts more stress and heat into the tires, where in some cases it can wear your tires out an extra few percentage points on the iRacing platform for the tire wear. That can really hurt you on the long run. So what do? Well, in some cases we've seen drivers try and find clean air pockets to be able to save their equipment, try and make sure that they take that weight off, as well as try and build up a run in various different places. As well, and try and back it down a little bit more in the corners, risk potentially losing some time, and just trying to, in turn, not squeal the tires as well throughout the corners. Not have it to where you hear that tire squealage as you're running around the racetrack. So those are some of the things you can do. It's just a matter of, it's very difficult at Richmond. At a track like Chicagoland, it's a bit more easier.
Richmond, of course, coming in with its own challenges, and I love this. I love the short track racing. If only we had more cars taking part today, but then again, that's a what if in a situation like this one. And mostly, it has to be a case of damage limitation. When you've got cars coming in all the way through, and you've got traffic every single place at the circuit, it's more about how much time you can avoid losing, because sometimes things can get far, far worse. And that's when the experienced drivers actually come up to show. But speaking of the rookies and the experienced drivers as well, so far, I think we've got excess of 10 rookies on the grid, and none of them seemingly doing a very good job so far today, Justin.
And keep in mind, the last time this series raced at Richmond was all the way back in 2018, which was a race that went just 5 minutes shy of running to the time limit back then, where it was emphasized where if they can keep it clean, they felt like they could get to 2 hours on the distance. We're hoping for some good green flag runs tonight. Absolutely. It takes a lot of experience to be able to learn this track, and as well, the practice time is emphasized. There was a lot of practice sessions put up throughout the week, keep in mind, for up to 6 hours in some cases, to learn this track and figure out what they needed to do to drive around the circuit effectively.
Oh no.
And you've got to do that. You've got to be part of those practice sessions. Because driving here alone is one thing. That's one aspect of it. But it's when you're running in that pack, especially in short tracks like this one, where all the learnings come from. And the fun part is, as we see, Nova's sad, losing a couple of positions. That's not by any normal means. That's an accident there for Nova Sad. What has happened in this case? I think it's again the same thing, Justin. I think it's again another driver losing the rear end of the car.
Absolutely was. Yep. Just ended up snapping around on him. He was bobbing around on the corner exit before he even got to that part. I think he may have nicked the edge of the apron, possibly. But a great job to lock it on down, avoid significant damage. Maybe hit the left front wing against the wall. Other than that, the car looking nice and secure for the most part, as you see that little crinkle for the left front wing.
I don't know what it is about today, but it just feels like it's survival of the fittest here. So many cars. We've only had 10 cars so far that are not lapped. That is, firstly, astounding if you're Joshua Chin. Astounding in terms of his pace. That just goes to show that today has just been a race of attrition in this case. It's been so hard to survive. That's what they say when they mean that Richmond is a proper challenge. Yeah, okay, I mean, on the surface, how hard can a quarter of a mile D-shaped oval be? But it is turning out to be a proper car killer here.
And Richmond, in multiple different types of racing, keep in mind, can be exactly that. It can be an attrition-filled type of racetrack. It's called the action track for a reason, where a lot of incidents can end up happening as a result of either contact or, in this case, drivers struggling coming off the corner. And we've seen that all race today, where drivers have been challenged to where if they are not aware of what can happen coming off the corner and don't have the proper car control, they can loop it around easily and put themselves into the wall.
And that wall is always waiting. It's like the wall has its arms open. It's like saying, come on, son, come on in, come on, and I'll show you what I'm all about. That's the kind of thing. It seems warm, but when you go in there, that's your race done in one shot. It's a bit of an intriguing thing why they call it the safer barrier. It's safer than what we initially had, but again, on the whole, not safe at all when you get hit right there. That's your race done in one shot. Already 4 cars out here. It was, of course, a smaller grid, but this has made things even more easier if you're Joshua Chin, because now you don't have many lap traffic cars to contend with. It's you and yourself and the clean air. And when you give a driver like him some clean air, Justin, he can just run away with it.
Jamie just got spun by Art
Absolutely.
McEwen.
He's just been efficient in getting to the traffic. That's been helping as well. Keep in mind this battle between Wood and Hoffman.
I think Lucas Laville got caught up in it, and it now has damage, so we just got 2 free positions.
Behind Wood. Built this entire run as Wilson's had some
Yep,
problems.
he had to. I think
That's
he got
his
front wing
teammate.
damage,
That's
so
Joshua Chin's
he's
teammate. Wilson
going
from
to-
Team Chimera on the grass right here. No caution flag so far, so that is a positive sign for everyone racing, but not if you're Wilson, because this means that he could potentially have a green flag stop. Racebot TV replay, and he gets turned around. The intensity is getting rather high. I know it's summer, I know things are getting hot right there in the US, but this was a bit too much.
I think he bounced off the lap car of McEwen, who was taking a very shallow exit down the racetrack. Right there, you see the tire contact. Nowhere for Laville to go as he ends up making hard contact with the front of his race car and significantly damaging the right front wing. Absolute calamity, essentially. That's the risk of traffic here, Sunil. When it comes to the timing of it, you reach them at the wrong time, it can obviously destroy your race, just like that front wing of Laville.
And that is Laville, the championship leader Laville. He is in this one for the long haul, and this is just hitting him big time. That just leaves, by the way, only 7 cars on the lead lap, and he's struggling, Justin. He just does not have that same level of momentum. You can see the lack of confidence in his car. I think he's about to box right here.
And this is a tough break. And yes, indeed, he's already pulling off to the side of the racetrack. In fact, he might try and tow it right here on the apron.
No. No. This is not what you want to see from Lucas Laville, the championship leader. He might just end up using the drop weak option. Here is Wilson, of course, limping his way back in the pit lane. That is such a shame. Firstly, it's good to see Wilson come back in the pit lane cleanly, because his car was also in quite the grave situation. But there it is, 2 leading drivers in the championship finding themselves in the pit road right now. It just looks like all the contenders for that big win are just disappearing. They're falling off in the distance.
Yeah, the damage starting to really pick up as Wilson only took a 9.5 second stop, but has significant side pod damage. See some of the air battles starting to heat up. One of these drivers fighting for position, that is Novosad, who's got a crumpled up front wing, who's still trying to make a pass of Robert Groscher, and it seems like that wing on the left side of the car seeming to look worse for wear. You can see a little bit of that crinkle right there. Some of the scrapes from the wall from before as they cut their way around the tight traffic.
And that's not helping Novosad in this case. Groscher is able to hold everyone off quite cleanly. And when will that pass come eventually? That's what he's wondering. He's trying to run the inside line consistently, just building up on that momentum. The only question is how long will it take until Groscher eventually ends up cracking. Don't forget who Groscher is, 3-time champion of this series. This year, he's been okay. His best race was the last time out at Watkins Glen. And you mentioned that prep time, Justin. It's been 3 weeks since we had the last race right here at the Classic IndyCar Championship. These drivers have had ample of time to prepare. But I think nothing can come close to having a race like this one when you are in that intensity, in that bubbled up environment where points matter. Things just change completely.
Absolutely, and this is the type of racetrack where you might be thinking this is an opportunity for a drop. And the tough part is not getting yourself tied up into that mindset, especially knowing that, say you get in trouble with the lap traffic right here. You don't want to get the thought process of, well, there's my drop, because you don't know if you're going to end up having more trouble later on in the season. And keep in mind, Novosad making things very difficult here with all this. He is not backing down, letting by these cars. Keep in mind, he is the second car a lap down in 9th spot, battling with the battle for second.
This is turning out to be very interesting for Novosad right now, holding them up in this case.
I mean,
and this does not help. This is just making Wood and Hoffman's life a bit of a headache in this case, because Joshua Chin is moving away. You give him a chance, he will disappear. He will just back up and finish this race off as soon as he can. And he's doing it, clocking in some very consistent lap times with seemingly no drop off here as we edge closer to reaching 2/3 of this race and that critical 100 lap mark that Justin mentioned early on. As for Wood and Hoffman, they're going to be wondering, well, what do we do differently? And this case, you've got to wonder, the only thing they can need right now is a caution. And Chin might be frustrated if that comes up because he's worked hard for this gap.
Yeah, Chin has incredibly just continued to set the fast
9.5
lap
for me.
times by a couple 100ths of a second to about 1/10 of a second. There's the caution.
There we go. And this one is Rod Carpenter. Lap 183. That is caution number 5 of this race. And to spice things up, it is just before the 200 lap mark. Here's what happened to Rod Carpenter. Don't tell me it's again. It's happened to be the 5th time. Not the 5th. The 6th time a car has slid off the exit of turn number 2. Full mark to the 360, by the way. Rod Carpenter held it perfectly. Race control throwing in a caution because it could have been far, far risky for the cars coming in. Lovely pirouette, wasn't that, Justin?
It was a nice pirouette and a nice way to keep it off the wall, but again, it was on the racing surface. And the tough part about this timing is we're still about 16 laps or so out from the expected window. Everyone coming in, it looks like, for obvious reasons, on the gas, but still, this is going to be a tough window and task to figure out when you pit now with the rest of this run. You may be hoping for an air caution at this mark.
Absolutely. They're not going to be clean all the way through. The maximum you can stretch things out, the maximum has to be around 100 laps.
Why is Ethan in
you
there so
cannot
long,
go
dude?
longer than that, especially if it's something like 14, 15 laps. And Chin seemingly slightly underfueling again, has a slightly quicker stop, only by a couple of tenths of a second here and there, which means that he wins the race off pit road once again. And you've got to wonder, cautions breed cautions here at ovals. That is exactly what Chin must be looking for in one way, but another way he might be thinking, well, if there is another caution, I certainly do get to clear off another one of my pit stops, as the rest of the field might also be thinking. But for the others, they need that sort of some opportunity to do something special. This caution has bunched themselves up, but they know that Chin has the raw pace. If they have to win this one, it might take something special on the strategy side from Wood or Hoffman to get the win over Chin.
Absolutely.
That would have been terrible.
Going to be a tough task. That's the main thing, because Wood's been good on the starts, but Chin with the clean air has been incredible, to say the very least. He's been quick from the jump.
Probably too slow.
He's rotated well. He hasn't made any major mistakes outside of a couple slides in this race. He's kept himself in control. And right now, it's just a matter of, can he do it again? I think there's a strong chance he can do it again.
Somebody stay out
at this point. Somehow.
To keep you out on the track.
The way he just built it up in that first restart, then in the second restart as well, then in the third one as well.
Well, I didn't.
Chin
Yeah,
has been
I was just wondering who was in front of you, Todd, if you were going to get stuck.
Every single time.
You're getting your lap back.
I think this is going to be a fun one, though. Leville, by the way, will get one of his laps back. That's a championship leader, Lucas Leville. And so he will be, instead of 3 laps down, 2 laps down. As if that makes a lot of difference. But that could. If we eventually have a few more cautions, Leville could be back on the lead lap. And you can see him making some positions which will be critical for him. Because as you rightly mentioned, Justin, you never know when you might need your drop round again. You can't bank on the here and now for the drop round. You've got to keep it for later on.
Absolutely. You never know if you're going to get involved in an incident or have technical error or prior commitments come up into play. So you want to make sure you have it just in case. It's similar to that of a fast repair, where you don't want to end up getting yourself relying on that. Of course, in this series, you don't have them, I should emphasize. I'm just saying that's the similar type of situation.
Well, the last time we came here, we used to have fast repairs back in 2018. That's gone. The last time we came here, we had over 6 cautions. Are we going to get another one? That's what some might be hoping. Green, green, green. Here we go, back again at Richmond Raceway. And Joshua Chin, what does he do at the start? It's a bumper getaway from him once again. And look at this, already half a second in the bag.
Looking very smooth right now is Chin at the moment, going right up next to the yellow line to the very limit. Wood seems to be a little more tentative to go down all the way to the bottom. He's leaving half a lane towards that bottom of the racetrack, and that's where Chin right now has been able to pull away that extra couple 100s compared to Wood on this launch.
He has been phenomenal on the restarts, Joshua Chin. He has been pulling away oh so easily. You can tell he's practiced for this one big time. But what is in the bag with Wood? What can he bring out in a situation like this one? Remember, the Team Chimera cars, both of them at the very top. Considering the team's championship so far, this might be perfect. 1 and 2. And considering all that's happening, Jan Hoffman is also not able to push hard, because behind him, he's getting trouble from Stanley. And Marshall Stanley is giving him a very, very hard time right here.
Yeah, Stanley's been having a very quiet but strong race in the Vortex Sim racing machine. He will apply pressure to his teammates. It's just a matter, though, of can he close up this gap like before, where we've seen drivers be able to build up massive runs to be able to make a pass to the inside. Just seems content right now and just riding and thinking big picture here, because we're still in a spot where we have drivers who will have to be thinking about that fuel mileage when we get to past 2/3 of the raceway in.
Turning out to be fun right here. This is really turning out to be fun right here. For sure, the gap up top might be opening up. But look at this battle. Jan Hoffman, Marshall Stanley. I am loving this one. You can see Marshall Stanley just closing up all the time.
Okay.
It's almost like he's giving a body language indication that, Jan, mate, things are going to get rather tough for you. If you don't move out of the way on your own, you can tell that he is going to force the move all the way through. And how badly does he need this? How badly does Marshall Stanley need a good result? In today's race, Schwabauer, Egan and Leville, all 3 of the top competitors in the championship, are having an absolute stinker. A big one from Marshall Stanley here, and he could leapfrog quite a few positions from P4, potentially up to P number 2 as well.
That's going to be very important for those drivers to carry that momentum into the summer break, as we talked about earlier, to be in a good spot, to be able to not have to panic, as Wood just scraped the wall, pardon me, coming off of turn 4. He bounced the right front tire off the wall hard.
Has he got some major damage? Is he ending up with some lost time throughout the race? Is going to be the major question to ask. A quick look at the Race Sport TV will tell us more on this one. And he gets a bit too close, exactly. Perhaps temptations of the lead getting to him.
Yeah, he was within a car length just a couple laps ago for that race lead. Looked to try and make a couple moves, just couldn't get the job done. Got himself back into the aero wash, and then that aero wash, I think, may have kicked him up the racetrack. And now he's falling back into the clutches of third on back as a result. So that was very costly, and Wood is now struggling with the pace.
He absolutely is, dropping down 0.6 of a second in that final lap. Make that a whole second, the gap between him and Joshua Chin right now. In a few moments' time, you could very well end up seeing Andrew Wood under the clutches of Jan Hoffman and Marshall Stanley right there. Which just means that Joshua Chin can run away with it once again. Anticlimactic, I know, but the race is still not done yet. Remember, the last caution came out at lap 183. They started back again on lap 186. They are not clear in terms of fuel as it stands right now. They will either need a green flag pit stop or a caution. Things would still change right here. Still, we could see the likes of Hoffman and Stanley pulling out something special from the bag. And if the damage isn't too bad, maybe Wood coming back too. But I don't think that's going to happen. Wood has drop time consistently over the last few laps here.
Yeah, that clean air has now gotten to where Chin has broken the draft and he can just try and run off and away. It's just a matter of getting around the lap traffic, making sure he doesn't loop it on around. One driver that is hoping for a caution flag, keep in mind, is Todd Novosad, because he did take a wave to get his lead lap back. He is 86 laps into his stint, it should be worth noting, in the 36 machine. So if there was something to heat up and have some trouble here, Todd Novosad would be the benefactor where he can finally change that front wing.
Yeah, he's had problems with that. Remember scraping the wall a few laps ago. Rod Carpenter, by the way, has also made his way into the pit lane, so he is in for a stop as well, as we see this battle for P3 evolve. Looks like Stanley has just got more confidence. His car is darting around the pack, and I wonder what Richmond is like for a driver when you're constantly coming in with that flow of corners. Here's what happened to Rod Carpenter for the second time, which brought him into the pit lane. Gets tagged. How?
I don't think he got hit from behind. I think it's just, again, a driver snapping. He was really off the pace after slamming the wall down the front straightaway that lap. He had gone to as low as 110 miles an hour for the car as he was trying to back it down, just snapped on him.
Yikes. And mind you, that's not the first time Rod Carpenter's car has snapped on him today. It did so early on as well. That was the reason why we had one of our cautions early on. It's just a terrible day for him so far. There's no sugarcoating it in any which way whatsoever. And days like this, Justin, days like this can make you question at times about racing on. But that will be the fun of it. Seeing Carpenter come back, seeing him rejuvenated after this particular race weekend, here to prove a point in the next ones after a long summer break, I think that will be quite a sight to watch when the series comes back.
Can't wait to see what he can do to prove drivers wrong, trying to improve on the race, etc. All that's going to be very critical to put a race like this behind you, because I think everyone as drivers struggles to keep the matters to their own mind, where they need to remember to have fun. And having fun is also very critical. By the way, we're inside the window for fuel. It's a question of who will be the first drivers to blink.
That is going to be critical. Do they stop now? Do they go later? Do they bank on a caution? You can't tell, because it's been a ton of laps since we last had any caution right here. The race has still been amazing. Yeah, for sure. 5 cautions may seem like a big number in the real world. The last time we came to Richmond, in terms of real world IndyCar, we only had 2. But so far, there's largely been a lot more green flag running. I wonder if we are going to see one again, but that's the thing about Richmond, isn't it? It is such a sneaky little circuit. You get the exit off one corner wrong, be it turn 2 or turn 4, bang, in a snap of a finger, a caution could be out again.
Exactly, and that's why right now, even with us in the window, I don't see drivers really even coming on in until the very edge of their tanks. Because we're at that point where it could be a lap from now, it could be 15 laps, it could be 30, it could be 40, where we may have attrition come into play. And if that ends up coming to be, you don't want to be that driver who got pinned 3 laps down trying to pit for fuel and in turn taking yourself out of contention.
Exactly that. It's all about strategy now. All about the mind games in a situation like this one. And for a race like this one, right, you've got to thank all the people that's helped you put together this one. And a big thank you to our race sponsor, Dave.com. The Dave.com Indy Challenge, that is. Meet the banking app that puts your financial mind at ease. You can get paid up to 2 days early to build your credit history and to get up to $200 worth of advances without paying a fee. 7 million members and counting have gone onto Dave.com. You can find more on their website, that is Dave.com. Gotta thank them, gotta love their support for this race like this one. And I love to see this with sponsors coming out here acknowledging that the racing here in the classic IndyCar series is a must watch. Today has been somewhat of a blockbuster so far. Yeah, it could have been better if we had more cars for sure. But when you consider out that Joshua Chin, well, he's having a bit of a great one at the top. But still, the battles that we're seeing all the way through the midfield, they have got me at the edge of the seat. And even the top one is in all clean here so far. Because the case is, you will never ever blink for a green flag stop, right? You will never ever do that because the caution could be so close. And as you rightly mentioned, Justin, they're just waiting so far for either of a caution or for the fuel tanks to be absolutely empty. But the fun part is, when the fuel tanks are empty, most of them are going to have it at a very similar time because they're all boxed at that one same caution.
Indeed, and it's going to be potentially a mad scramble to the lane where it's going to be tight. Keep in mind, drivers were told that they have to go underneath the dotted lines that you may have noticed to the left side of the racetrack there to be able to enter the pit lane safely and an efficient way to get them to the apron in turns 3 and 4 for the pit stop entry. So that's going to be very important. Also going to be very important to make sure you don't speed during the green flag cycle, because there are going to be some drivers who are going to be pushing hard to try and maximize on this. Where did Weekly come from? Meanwhile, he has all of a sudden picked up the pace.
Caleb Weekly is on fire right now. He's got the move on Marshall Stanley, who, remember, was in that battle for P number 3. He is picking up the pace with some intensity. Watch him come here. Jan Hoffman is under pressure. You can see, by the way, Caleb Weekly is driving, that he is just pressurizing that inside line. He just does not want to give Jan Hoffman any space, and he cars his way up. Weekly moves up to P number 3.
Looking at the times the past 10 laps, he has been right on par with Joshua Chin on his lap average, within 2/1000 of a second on average. So Weekly's definitely been able to recover very well from his mistakes earlier on. Really good pace at the moment to play things on out. By the way, Todd Novosad has had to come down and pit. He was able to stretch it 110 laps, but had to come in for that service.
And that is saying something, Justin. That is going to be huge. If Todd Novosad could stretch the pit window by 110 laps, all the drivers will be watching. The caution lap was lap 183. Add 110 to that, then that's 193. That's just agonizingly close. I don't think they're still going to make it either way, but that is an inspired stint right there from Todd Novosad. That is fuel saving at its best, and Dave.com will be proud by all the savings that he's done right there in that case.
Now, he had to try something to be able to get on the lead lap and hope for a caution. Didn't get the caution he was looking for, and now it's the matter of trying to get towards the end of the race. By the way, you may notice some time loss. Joshua Chin all of a sudden lost a few tenths of a second trying to get around some of the cars for having a little bit of struggle for a moment.
And now, watch this. Weekly has moved up into P number 2. He has attacked Andrew Wood. And you're right, Justin, where has all that pace come from? Someone must have come in and dropped him a pill of quickness, because this is turning out to be mighty incredible fun to watch. Well, that was 2 adjectives in one place, mighty incredible.
Yep, you're fine.
But that's just what it is right now. Weekly is driving with some ferocity, and P2 is his. And
Yeah,
look
you're
at the timing screen. Look at the gap.
I'm not going to pass
It is
you.
under a second. Joshua Chin
I'm just
is
trying to
under
survive,
pressure.
driving to survive
Is
right
he
now.
fuel saving right now, Justin? I think he just is.
This is a lot of time all of a sudden he's trying to save, though. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
I'm confused because he's now going 0.7 of a second a lap slower.
They inspired me, what can I say?
Bizarre. That's only what it is. We can only find out after the race when we speak to Joshua Chin. If we speak to Joshua Chin, that is. And for that to happen, he must be in the top 3 places, which seemed like something we could take for granted only a couple of laps ago. But I think he's picked the pace back up, Justin. I think that was intentional. He saved all the fuel that he had to. Now he is back on track. And what this does is put Weekly's car in dirty air.
This is going to be the true test to see, can Weekly rally his way up to the race lead now especially with Chin all of a sudden showing some cracks. It's going to be really difficult to see what can happen here.
It's amazing, right? Joshua Chin was 3.1 seconds up some 5 odd laps ago. That gap has dropped down to only half a second. How much fuel would he have saved by cutting on that much of a gap? I wonder what it is, but it is bizarre nonetheless. On the whole though, it largely is intentional because Chin has not dropped a position. The gap is still comfortable, still all that he wants. And might this just get Andrew Wood a little bit closer if Chin can hold on weakly for a bit?
Possibly. I think Wood's gonna also come up here, obviously, but I am still so confused on what the sequence is there. Wood's all of a sudden starting to struggle a little bit there. Now he's lost the draft of weekly.
Exactly. It's just turning out to be that sort of a race of confusion, intrigue, attrition as well. One of the words I can throw in there for today. It has just been bizarre, but bizarrely entertaining. Andrew Wood pits. He's blink justed. He is not waiting for a caution. Andrew Wood of Team Chimera has boxed. Is
I
that
have
a sign? Is his teammate
9.3
Joshua Chin
gallons
coming in as
left.
well soon?
You'd have to think that's going to
9.3.
be a big sign. So Wood obviously felt like this was the time to go for the undercut. See if this is going to be able to work. No blink yet from Chin on the racetrack, but this is going to be a critical time of the race to try something different. Marshall Stanley also trying something different.
So Stanley and Wood are the two cars in the pit lane. Watch out for where they rejoin. Watch out for how many laps they lose. Good exit right there by Andrew Wood. That can be quite a hard thing to do. You've got so many horses rearing at the back of your car. Now what happens? Now Chin has no support from his teammate. Now Andrew Wood is 2 laps down. Andrew Wood is in P number 7, and so the same can be said for Stanley, who's also gone down a couple of laps. Both of these drivers have gone in for that extra stop. They could not be bothered waiting for the caution, and Weekly's on the attack. He is closer than ever now.
Now Weekly, I think, is going to go for the race lead here, in fact, for this point.
Beautiful. You've got to love the fight back. You've got to love the spirit. And Joshua Chin, you can do whatever you want, but you can't take the lead away from him. He's going to fight down to the very end. Bill, Chin with the advantage, but not the preferred line. Remember, as the race goes on, the rubber comes to the outside line, but to no avail for Chin. The outside may be getting faster, but Weekly is even quicker. He is your new race leader.
Now you have to wonder when Chin elects to come down. Keep in mind the air drivers are 2+ laps down, and Chin's coming in. Chin's decided he's had enough to pit.
So that's why. That is why Joshua Chin boxes with 47 laps to go. I'm sorry. You can tell the excitement of the race is getting to me. I can't read my numbers straight. That is how fun things are going to be. And so, now we have a split strategy. Chin, Wood and Stanley, the 3 top cars, have decided to box under the green flag. What if we get a caution now?
It's going to be interesting, the 64 to keep in mind. You can see already making his way through turn 4. Chin is actually going to have I think an okay-ish around a amount of time, if not be right next to him. Coming off the lane, here they go.
Here we go then. This is going to be fun. He has... Oh! Won it on his own! No! Joshua Chin, the chosen one for this race, has spun out on his own on the pit exit. It is turning out to be so good.
Pits,
and those rear tires must be cooked. Weekly is a happy man today.
We talked about it before. Cold tires so critical. Chin lights up those tires coming off the pit lane and trying to get up to speed, knowing that Wood is right next to him. Able to have a great save with car control, but that is absolutely huge.
Yeah, that's true.
Huge indeed. He was the one who rolled the dice. And all of a sudden, He got taken off the chessboard. You don't roll dice on chess, on a Ludo board, whatever you might like to call it. That's the kind of race it is turning out to be. Joshua Chin. And how much time has he lost? His teammate Andrew Wood is 14 seconds up ahead. And look at this! Oh, that's weekly! Isn't that weekly there?
And that's going to bring out the caution, and that changes everything. Who's going to be the leader here?
Exactly. Josh Baird.
I have 1.3 to the good, or to make it to the
caution,
end. Do you think I can make
very
it?
well be a winner. What in the world is going on here? Caleb Weekly minding his own business. And it's turn number 2 again.
Definitely
on
go in
his
and
own.
pit,
You could
take
not
1 gallon,
script
but
that.
I could also try
He was
and
so confident in that final script, in that final stint right there.
fuel
Caleb
save.
Weekly was bossing it. Till he wasn't. Oh.
I think that a couple drivers are going to be able to take some ways possibly with everyone else. Like, we're going to have to come down for fuel here, but it's going to come down here to decision making from some of the drivers.
Yeah, I only need
I'm
1 gallon
wondering
according to Dan Lisa
if
right
we
now.
see one driver say, you know what? Why not try and leave everyone pinched a lap down here? That's going to be the 20 machine's decision if he allows Wood, Weekly, Stanley, and Chin to be back on the lead lap here.
That is correct. That would be Ethan Egan. And if we do see the likes of Wood, Stanley, and Chin coming back on the lead lap, you've got to put your money on Chin. You have to. Even though his tires might be slightly cooked, Chin has just been phenomenal. But now, this dynamic changes completely. Firstly, a second to speak about Caleb Weekly. Oh, that is agonizing. He clearly was the driver of the entire race weekend so far in that final stint. He was just bossing it, taking the lead from Joshua Chin. And now it's gone. Jan Hoffman, by the way, pinning in from P number 2. Oh, this is a fun call, isn't it, Justin?
Laps.
He's going to have fresh rubber now.
Well, I'm in 6th and fuel map 8.
3 cars on the lead lap. May as well come in, make sure you're good to go to the end on fuel. It's a call I would make. Josh Baird did not elect to pit, though.
Yeah.
Again, did not pit, I believe, pardon me, the 20 is a wave around possibly here. And is actually coming around to the lane to come down. So this is potentially going to put us to 2 cars on the lead lap, maybe?
Tell me about it. It's been crazy. And Josh Baird has decided to stay out there. That is a bold call from Josh Baird right now.
This pins Wood. This pins Wood, though, a lap down for sure. Because guess who's behind him? Wood.
Ah. Now that is interesting. If we get another caution right here, Josh Baird might just have made the decision of the day. He might have been the one who caused the first caution for sure. But if we get another one, Baird, well, he just might be in prime position. And we might have some fun battles behind. Wood, Egan, Stanley, Chin, they're all in it, but they lap down, all of them.
This is going to be...
They're all 3 laps down, aren't they?
Because
I trapped them in the...
Because if
guess.
Baird has to pit, then he's 2 laps down. So this is the gamble where he's hoping for another caution, I think.
Okay.
At this point. Hoffman, I think, is going to have a great opportunity to be able to pounce for the race lead here.
I'm at 0.7 now.
This whole
for
race
gas.
has just been flipped upside down with the timing of this caution flag.
Oh, that's just amazingly entertaining.
I'll try it.
This one. Yeah, and you thought we could have a bad race with only 20 cars? Think again. No, he has to bank on a caution, right? He can't. I mean, if he pits on the green flag, he's going to be falling back down to say P number 10 right now, Josh Baird. Off we go. Green flag racing. We've only got a few laps left and he gets jumped up. Hoffman gets the lead once again already. You can see the difference in the rubber. Hoffman with the confidence. Well, what else is so confident? The confidence of Joshua Chin in that last couple of stints. Let's just put it that way.
And already Wood has unlapped himself as well with the timing of that restart. So that puts us 3 cars on the lead lap, but emphasizes the importance for everyone else to get up to Hoffman now as a result if they want any chance here. So this was a massive, massive gamble here from Baird to pin the rest of the field down. An intriguing case and an intriguing situation.
Exactly. So what does he do now? Only 32 laps to go. He's already had 84 in the stint so far. The max we have seen so far is by Todd Novosad, 110 laps. I doubt he can go more than that. And currently, if he had to go right at the very end, he would have to go one up on Todd Novosad. That is not going to happen.
No,
he
it's
needs
fine.
that stop, but still, if we do get a caution, Baird could
I was gonna
just
say,
be
I was
in
planning on
prime
doing it.
position. Meanwhile, though, Joshua Chin is recovering quite well. He has to pass Egan right now. And remember, in a case like this one, Egan is second in your championship. Now, this is a fun battle.
If I
When
get
the
one more
likes of
caution,
Liberal
it probably should
Trouble or
help.
Stanley, well, they're not having the best weekends. Egan can do so, even though he's passed by Joshua Chin right now. Things are still quite bright, I would say.
I think so as well, especially under the bright lights of Richmond. Still in a good spot to potentially get a top 5 run. It's just a matter of can he hold on in front of drivers like Stanley in particular.
Car's tight.
After all, there were only 3 drivers on their respective lap cycle here, and it's a
I
fast
can't
sprint
with
here.
this setup.
We talked about it earlier. 4
I got
laps
too much
per
rake in it,
minute
and it
with
spins
the
on
pace to
turn
run.
4 if I use it. Go
I
ahead.
love it. I absolutely love every single minute of this. And I'm sure you are too, folks. Because this could very
Yeah, I
well
have to.
be a very intriguing finish. Baird will have to take a stop. The question firstly, where does he cycle out? Secondly, can the likes of Chin and Egan get their lap back? Because right now, because they don't have their lap back, Jan Hoffman has built up a gap of 5 seconds in under 10 laps. That is massive. And Hoffman only a couple of stints ago seemingly was completely out of it. It's amazing how oval racing can just be like a pendulum that sometimes swings the whole thing away from you, but the cautions bring it back.
Nope.
I was reading somewhere on a forum that someone saying that, oh, because we don't need to get debris cleared off, why don't we
Saw
just
that
get rid of cautions on sim racing, on oval races? Well, tell me about that again.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. That's the only thing I have to say with removing caution
I
flags,
see
but
front
this is
damage.
that's
Oh,
the
no,
intrigue
no, no,
about
no.
it.
Oh my
You never
gosh,
know
I
when you're
gotta
going to get a
pit.
caution to mix up the strategy. As a bit of smoke kicked up across the racetrack, I think Baird actually may have had a problem down the backstretch.
Oh no. No, 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 no. He had to box eventually. Now this time it might be by force. Oh, I think it's that again. I think it's turn number 2. Of course it is turn number 2. Bring it
Yeah.
up. The counter
I
goes
should
up
have
to
known.
8.
It usually
That's
happens.
a done.
3, 2.
No caution flag from that hard hit either, and he's indeed made his way to the lane. So the gamble not going to pay off either direction for the 23. Has already lost a lap. So that
tires
leaves
in
just Hoffman and Wood on the lead lap. That's it. And keep in mind, Chin is chasing down Hoffman to try and get his lap back and quickly.
I
And
know.
you know what? The fun part is, Jan Hoffman,
I had it
even
unchecked
though
from
he's
last
got
pit
the
stop.
15-second time advantage, he also has the fresher rubber. His stint has only been through 90.
No, I had it unchecked. I
and
didn't know it
Wood
was still
has
unchecked. Is what
done
I'm saying.
35. Their gamble, their decision to go down onto pit lane under green flag
Yeah.
for Team Chimera is not working out, Justin. It has backfired. Had they waited for 5 odd minutes, again, power of hindsight, I know, they could be in this. Now Hoffman has fresher rubber and some immense track time.
I don't know if
almost
I
a
would've made it
lap
on fuel
Andrew
anyway.
Wood right now.
They got to be kicking themselves at this moment. That's the main thing right now after
Yeah,
such
it was worth the gamble
a
for
gamble
sure.
because we talked about it. We were expecting drivers to try and stretch as far as they can on the fuel. You never know when you're going to get the yellow flag. But now, instead of talking about how Chin has been having such a dominant performance, he's just unlapping himself and now is going to need a caution flag to hope for anything to have happen that is higher than a second or third place finish.
And imagine, what does it do to his momentum? Joshua Chin is going to the Lionheart Indy 500 right after this one. Here, he knows that he had the pace. He knows that he did everything correctly on his part, apart from that one strategy call. You know how many laps was the difference between his stop and that caution? Barely a few.
Maybe even 3 if you want to.
8 laps.
Todd had a good run too.
Insanely close. Insanely close right there for Joshua Chin. With that kind of driving, with that kind of performance, you cannot say that, well, he didn't deserve the win. But that's the thing with oval racing. It's on those strategy calls. You might be just the best driver on the track, but it's on what you do in the pit lane that can shape things up so much. And there, Jan Hoffman just pulled out a sneaky. In the last few laps, he might have dropped a couple of seconds here and there, for sure. Chin might have unlapped himself, for sure. Does that impact him at all? Not one bit.
Still got 14 seconds to buffer between him and the other drivers as we're under 10 laps to go now in this race. It's just a matter of, can this race stay clean and green? If you're Hoffman, you're hoping it does, so there is an arrow opportunity for Wood and Chin to pounce.
Absolutely, that is 100% correct in that case. And now, with 9 laps to go, only a few minutes to go in this one, we've got a fun checkup on the Masters class as well. 8 can remember out of this race. Meanwhile, McEwen, who was having an absolute stinker at the start, could very well come up and close down that gap. Not just close down that gap, by the way, but take the lead in the Master class of the Classic IndyCar Series as well. That is a biggie. Big moves and shakers all the way through here today, Justin.
Indeed, and you never know when the attrition's going to hit, and that's why some drivers just keep on racing on and on, because you can pick off positions one by one as drivers have trouble, and that's what some of the drivers were able to do today, like McEwen, like some of the others before they had their eventual attrition. The 31 machine of Mike Rolizia, for example, is one of those competitors who has been laps down, has been able to pick off drivers one by one. It's been incredible to see how they've been able to keep on going and take advantage of some of the attrition for Galaxy Sim Racing.
100%. That has been superb from them so far, right? When so many top names are not competing, when so many top names are just taking themselves out. Galaxy doing a lovely job. Lucas Neville, by the way, championship leader in P number 8 here today. It's decent, but his main rival Egan is in P number 4. Egan is clawing back some big points here today. And the next time we come back on for the next race at Michigan, the gaps will be closer. The championship will be hotter. Chabot, by the way, another one of their rivals, is out. But with only 2 to go, the focus today, it just has to be on Jan Hoffman, doesn't it? Chin did everything he could. So with Wood. So with Weekly. Some inspired performances from them so far. As the white flag goes up in the air, Jan Hoffman
first when I spun out?
from ear to ear. His driving was superb. He just kept his calm, kept his nerve all the way through. And one inspired strategy call gave him this one. Jan Hoffman wins in Richmond, and he's the winner of the first of the 3 Triple Crown races.
But if I would have spun, I would have been ahead of
Amazing
Jan,
stuff.
right?
And Vortex Sim Racing,
Or was I?
they've got a big W in the bag here today.
Okay.
Incredible strategy, incredible intrigue, and in turn, the attrition comes into play in a massive way.
Second.
It allows Hoffman to take home the checkered flag. He was among your top competitors much of this race today, and he'll get the chance to burn it down here at the action track.
All me.
Man, the excitement at the finish. He's soaking it in. Of course he is. He deserves every bit of it. Richmond, well, it's just the biggest mental challenge for all the drivers. And now, he is soaking it all in. Jan Hoffman, ladies and gentlemen, your winner